What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Islam Makhachev interested in moving up to welterweight. Islam Makhachev has had an interest in moving up to 170 for a while now, going all the way back to when Leon Edwards was sitting atop the division. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. Now, with Belal Muhammad as the welterweight champion, things are a bit more complicated, considering that the two train together. However, from the sounds of things, Makhachev still has his sights set on becoming a two-division champion. Before that, the champ will have to get through a tough test in Arman Tsarukyan, and depending on what the UFC says, he might have to defend the belt against Charles Oliveira before moving up to 172. During an interview with Daniel Cormier for ESPN, Makhachev weighed in on the situation. "If I looking behind Arman, if I beat him, I don't know. I'm tired to give somebody a rematch. I need the second belt. Belal is there. We will see. Lot of good fighters." When DC mentioned a possible Charles Oliveira rematch, Makhachev responded, "I beat him. Arman beat him. It's nothing exciting to beat him again. But if he want, if Dana want, if fans want, why not?" While Oliveira is coming off a win over Michael Chandler, there's been talk of a fight between him and Ilia Topuria, with Khabib saying that if El Matador wins a fight at 155 against someone like Oliveira, that he would deserve a title shot. The fight could decide who's next up for a crack at the title, after Makhachev and Tsarukyan fight. Aljamain Sterling not happy with Merab versus Umar. Merab Dvalishvili might have accepted a fight with Umar Nurmagomedov in January to be a company man, but his longtime friend and teammate Aljamain Sterling isn't happy about the fight being booked for UFC 311. The way he sees things, the fact that the UFC booked a fight between Dvalishvili and Nurmagomedov for January, giving the champion only 6.5 weeks to train for a title fight, isn't exactly fair. During an appearance on the Ariel Helwani show this week, the former champion weighed in. "I don't like anyone getting short-sighted, blindsided, having to take something on short notice. I mean, let's be honest, this fight's being made on 6 weeks notice, or maybe 6.5. For a title fight? I mean, I understand having to do that if you're a challenger, but as a champion, you shouldn't be relegated to those type of stipulations. It's just not right. Then it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. As in, why did I work so hard to get this position to call the shots or some of the shots, and you're not even getting a fair shake?" The MMA world was quick to weigh in on the situation, with one fan writing, "Getting the built-in excuse ready." Another weighed in, adding, "This is what happens when an entity like the UFC has a monopoly on the market. There is zero leverage a fighter can have." One member of the MMA world pointed out that Merab wanted to run things back with O'Malley in November. It was already made pretty clear that Merab and Umar was going to happen next, but if he's so upset about it being made so early, why was he saying he was willing to rematch O'Malley in November? One fan didn't want to hear it. "He fought in September. Save the tears, lol. God forbid these guys be active champions." Another pointed out that the situation feels reminiscent of the lead up to Sterling's fight with Sean O'Malley. Exactly. Aljo is saying this because it legit happened to him. Not saying Sean wouldn't have beat him, but Aljo would have been way more prepared to not lose his title. One fan pushed back on the narrative that Sterling's pushing. They both know for a while that's next fight to do, so it's not like it's out of the blue for Merab on who to prepare for. If he was preparing for an O'Malley style, knowing Umar's next is kind of dumb. Whether the quick turnaround for the champion has any impact on the fight, only time will tell. Renato Moicano calls out the UFC. Renato Moicano's win over Benoit Saint-Denis might have been the biggest win of Money Moicano's career, but the way he sees things, the UFC sent him over to Paris to fight BSD with the hope that he'd lose that fight and give BSD a promotional push in front of his hometown crowd. When Michael Bisping responded to the comments on the Believe You Me podcast, offering his perspective on the situation as an unbiased source, Moicano joked that it shouldn't be surprising to see the former champion defend the UFC considering this sign his checks.
Like you say, how many English fighters they have, how many French fighters they have, and how many Brazilian they have, you know? If I a lot. We are like the Mexicans of MMA, you know? If they need somebody to do the hard work, they're gonna call a Brazilian. And if he loses, they have another one. So it is what it is. I don't get mad UFC. I know what they're trying to do, you know? Benoit Saint-Denis, young, special force.
Leading up to Moicano's upcoming fight against Beneil Dariush at UFC 311, Dariush spoke about the fight with MMA Junkie, saying that after being finished in the first round of back-to-back fights, he understands being the betting underdog. However, if he loses to Moicano, then he's more than likely going to wind up retiring from MMA. "It makes sense that I would be the underdog because I'm on a downhill right now, and he's on the uphill. It makes total sense, you know, the question is what version of Dariush are you going to get? I think that's really the question people are asking, and with my last two performances, they're not expecting great results." But I can tell you, this is the best I've ever felt, and I'm looking forward to getting to that fight, and I'm very confident, and I know most people coming off 2 losses aren't, but I'm actually very confident. So I'm pretty stoked to get in there and remind people who I am. Given the current rankings, the winner will likely wind up being just one fight outside of the top 5 in a pretty stacked lightweight division. UFC updates. There may not be any UFC cards for the next few weeks, but in the spirit of the one and only Burt Watson, between now and then, the UFC updates will keep on rolling. To start, we've got an update from Alex Bahunin regarding the rumors of a possible fight between Jack Della Maddalena and Kamaru Usman. Apparently, the fight is not going to be happening at the UFC 312 card in Australia. According to the MMA Mania Insider, there's a pretty good chance that JDM misses the entire card while he continues to work his way back to 100% after a number of surgeries and infections. That card will, however, play host to a fight between Aussie Jack Jenkins and Gabriel Santos, with Jenkins looking to build on a win over Herbert Burns in August, and Santos looking to build on the September victory over Yiza. The following week, Jared Gordon and Caio Fernandes will throw down on the UFC Vegas 102 card at the Apex, with Gordon looking to bounce back after a split decision loss in June, and Fernandes looking to build on a first-round win over Muhammad Yahya at the end of the summer. Last but certainly not least, Waldo Cortez Acosta is reportedly set to throw down with Ryan Spann on the UFC Vegas 104 card at the Apex on March 15th. This fight will see Cortez Acosta try to pick up his 4th victory in a row, while Spann's looking to build on a win over OSP back in October. Paulo Costa provides an update on next UFC fight. Paulo Costa had a rough 2024 inside the octagon, losing back-to-back fights by decision to Robert Whittaker and Sean Strickland. While Costa has not won a fight since 2022 when he defeated Luke Rockhold on the Usman Edwards 2 card, he gave fans an update on his next fight on Instagram this week, saying that although he doesn't have a name or a date for his next fight, he's been in the gym training to bring back the Paulo Costa fans know and love. Know you've been asking a lot about my next fight and you want to see me training? Believe me, I've been training a lot, and when I say a lot, it means a lot. I'm the type of guy who really enjoys getting deep focused in whatever it is what I'm doing. That's why my team fulfills the gap with a funny part of me I can't show in the octagon. And you don't see me here often showing my training routine as much as I'd like to, but believe me, I wish I could. But my priority is fighting. My priority now is to bring the Paulo you want back, and I'll be back. When looking at the rankings at 185, a few names stick out as potential opponents for Costa. With DDP, Sean Strickland, Izzy, and Nasruddin Imavov all booked for fights, Costa could compete against Caio Borralho, who actually trained with Costa for his co-main event fight with Michael Oleszejczuk last year. On top of that, the UFC could book Costa to fight either the winner or the loser of the Brendan Allen-Anthony Hernandez fight scheduled for February, as well as the winner of the upcoming Jared Cannonier-Gregory Rodriguez fight. Leon Edwards versus Sean Brady at UFC London? With Ian Gary making it clear that he has no plans to fight in London, even if it is a headliner against Leon Edwards in March, the big question on the minds of fight fans has been who the former champion will compete against as he looks to get back on the win column. During an interview on the Ariel Helwani show on Tuesday, Sean Brady spoke about the welterweight rankings, saying that if fans look at the rankings, with Bilal Muhammad expected to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov and Kamaru Usman and Jack Della Maddalena both out for the time being, a fight between him and Edwards makes the most sense. I think for me, historically, I would want to go somewhere and prove myself because my first loss did come while I was traveling to Bilal, and I'm a completely different fighter now, so I just want to prove it to myself that I can go somewhere, go in someone's backyard, and win a fight. My wife's due in February, so March is kind of soon, but to fight Leon, a #1 contender in his home, if I win that fight, I think I am in title contention, so it's worth the risk to go over there and fight Leon and beat him at home. Brady does make a valid point when it comes to the fight making sense given the rankings. Currently, Brady, who is ranked 5th at 170, is the highest ranked fighter Edwards could fight with Usman and JDM out of the equation. If the UFC does not book a fight between the two, they could look to number 6 ranked Joaquin Buckley as a potential opponent for Edwards, after his win over Colby Covington this past weekend. The MMA community goes off on Israel Adesanya for sparring footage. Izzy released new footage showing off his latest sparring session, but fans noticed that he was moving slower and attempting to strengthen his grappling. Here's the clip. This is what the MMA community had to say. He needs to stop always running away and turning his back, which leaves him open for another shot. My GOAT is washed, working on his takedown defense finally after his prime. If Imavov is smart, he watches this and unleashes his inner Dagestani nature on February 2nd. Chimaev would win in 1 round. I love Izzy, but he never really evolved his wrestling. Yes, he has amazing takedown defense, but his wrestling attacks are just not there. He's really bad at grappling. From the multiple clips I've seen, I don't think there's a solution for dude. He doesn't have good technique or tension, grip strength when grappling. If Imavov is worth his salt, this one should be easy. Dubs. He's not aging well. Why would they release this footage?